Hi, everybody. Dr. White here with your recording lecture here. So this is going to be a short video going over the assignment sheet for your first graded writing project. If it's a little bit confusing, that's okay. The homework assignment for tomorrow, should help you work through it. And what we're going to do with Pogner's reading for next week should also help bring this into focus. But I wanted to go over this now since, well, it's your first assignment. So what are we doing here? First thing to know, it's a critical essay. So it's 5 to 6 pages long, and it should be in MLA style. Now, if you have questions about that, you can go here to our Blackboard page, and you can go to handouts, and you can click on MLA sample paper. Now, no, you are not writing a long research paper. Yes, this is a long research paper sample. I'm not giving this to you to teach you how to write a research paper. I'm giving this to you to look specifically at these light blue insets which tell you how to format your paper. MLA at the end of the day is largely about formatting, and that's what I want you to know how to do. So pay attention to things like this inset. MLA requires double spacing throughout a document. Do not single space any parts of the document. Pay attention to, if you want to use headers, how to use those. And pay attention to points of style, like using another style of text to differentiate heading levels, as well as things to include in the heading for the paper, page numbers, centering, things like that. Again, this is not a literature class. You are not writing a research paper, but this is still a useful tool for understanding how to format the paper. So just follow the instructions in the blue boxes. Okay, so what are we doing? You're writing a 5 to 6 page critical analysis of a discourse community artifact. So what does that mean? Well, read Pogner for discourse community. But in short, you can consider a working definition to be a group of people who engage in discourse, the verbal and or written visual exchange of information, dialogue in other words, who talk about something, because they have a shared interest. So, for instance, research groups are often examples of discourse communities. People can research, call it coding or web design without being academic experts in it, right? You can talk about it because you're shared interest. So that's what we mean when we talk about discourse communities. And it's a useful concept for our purposes here because we want to think about the exchange of information via writing that we do with research sources as examples of community building and community formation. And also because it tells us who gets to participate and how and why they participate. So I've listed some of the questions that we're hoping to answer here. How do technical writers create knowledge? Who's involved in the drafting, revising, editing, reviewing, and publishing of technical research articles? And how do we use genre? You can kind of think of this critical analysis essay as the opportunity for you to find a peer-reviewed research article of your choosing and to write a piece analyzing how your article uses genre conventions as evidence of discourse community values. Again, read Pogner for examples of discourse communities and the types of values that they may or may not have. That's what the reading is for. I'm here to tell you that what you're going to do is basically go on the Northeastern University Library website, and I'll bring that up for you right here. You're going to go to Scholar OneSearch and say that you want to type in something like artificial intelligence and medical device. We'll use the singular to avoid results. Okay, and here we have something that might work pretty well. The first thing you want to do is click peer-reviewed journals only, and you want full text online. Okay, you want those so that you can get what you're getting, and also so that you know it's peer-reviewed. We'll talk about what that means later on. Apply these filters. Okay, and then you can click on here, and you can go ahead and download your PDF, and it'll ask you to do Duo probably. Maybe it won't. That would be nice. Excellent. So here's your research article. And again, choose an article based on what you're interested in, but it should be something from your field. And you're going to read it, and you're going to annotate it to talk about the relationship between form and content. In other words, we're really seeking to answer, why do people in the technical professions, members of technical discourse communities, write the way they do? What is it about the content and their purposes for writing that lead them to do this? So, here are your precise instructions. Using the library subject guide resources, select a peer-reviewed research article that you find interesting. You just saw me do that. Read the article and note its genre conventions and purpose. Now, you might be wondering, what are genre conventions? Well, there's a handout for that. You go back to our Blackboard page, you go to handouts, analyzing genre conventions. And lo and behold, here it is. So here you go. We can break genre conventions into a couple different areas. I like to break it into orientation and organization questions, and then also selection and presentation questions, because these are stages of the composition process. And after you read the article and you annotate it and you figure out, well, what's it actually about, what's it saying, answer these questions. And after you've noted these, you'll start to have an outline of the rhetorical situation, the purpose, the audience, and the limitations. And then you can go ahead and answer also things like the selection and presentation questions. So you can answer, for instance, what words appear most frequently. Hint, there's an exercise for that. You could also say, does the author use jargon throughout the article or more frequently in some sections? So when we say jargon, we mean words that have a certain meaning to people in the field and would mean something different to someone else. For instance, code means something very different to someone studying computer science than someone studying archaeology, for instance. We could talk about linguistic patterns. That also comes through a little bit through text analysis. And answer other questions. Basically, what we're looking to do, again, is connect the form and the function. Why do writers in these technical fields write the way that they do? I have some questions here you can answer. Pay close attention to peer review practices and submissions authors guidelines described on the journal homepage. I will give you a quick look at that now. Let's see. So, my sample article here. Okay? We have a couple different levels of information. This is your article title. This is the title of this particular essay or publication. Here are your author names, publication date, page numbers. This is the journal title, Insights into Imaging. Now, that's useful because the journal title is called the container, okay? The journal title would be like the title of the book, and the article title would be the title of the chapter. So you're writing about the article, which would be like the chapter, not the full book. What we do want to do, though, so this is the journal title here. We can Google it. And what you'll see, Insights into Imaging. Now, this is the journal homepage. So when you go here, you'll see a number of things, including submission guidelines. If we go to submission guidelines, you can read things like the aims and scope. So what does that mean? This tells us who owns the journal, the European Society of Radiology, and it gives you the genres that appear in it: critical reviews, guidelines, policy statements. Read it on your own. You can tell it tells us that the journal continuously updates scientific and best practice knowledge through the publication of original articles and state-of-the-art reviews. Blah blah blah. Okay. Official journal of following organizations. So one, this gives it credibility, right? But it also tells us that this is the official journal that brings together people who all do the same thing. So we know that the funding, for instance, comes from professional society dues. It gives you here the citation impact, which tells you how important stuff is. You can click on these to get a little more of a balanced sense for what it means. You can also look at things like, let's see, fees and fundings. Holy crap, an article processing charge of $2,170 for each article accepted for publication. However, if the corresponding author's institution participates in our open access membership, some or all the publication costs may be covered. So what this We routinely waive charges for authors from low-income countries. So this tells you that they want people to contribute to their movement. They're interested in publishing knowledge, not necessarily making money. The more important thing probably would be the peer review policy here. The system used to assess the quality of a manuscript before it is published. So read the peer review policy, read the submissions guidelines through all of it. And if you also are curious, you could read something like editorial policies, ethics and consent. So you read all this, and these talk about values, right? What are the values of the people who do this work? What do they care about? What matters to them? Learn all about your article that you pick for this assignment. And then you can start to answer some of these questions in the assignment here, okay? Your essay should include a thesis arguing for a particular relationship between your selected peer-reviewed article and its discourse community of practice. So we're analyzing genre conventions, the formal characteristics, how it looks, okay? How it looks, things like page numbers, spacing, are there charts, are there graphs, are there figures, are there pictures, is it black and white, is it in color, how many citations are there? That's evidence of certain values. There are a lot of citations in technical articles because we're interested in analyzing large quantities of research, not so much qualitative analysis. In a humanities article, there will usually be fewer citations. So read this on your own. If you have any questions, post it in the course Q&A thread. The big thing to really remember here is that we're analyzing this text as evidence of community formation and of the exchange of knowledge. Why does this community exchange knowledge in the forms that it does? What are some of the genre conventions they use? And how does each particular publication respond to different needs within the field? So if this all sounds kind of sketchy, that's okay. Again, I know I'm making this video a little bit earlier on in the process. If particular questions come up, let me know in the Q&A thread, and I'll post a video lecture clarifying some of this stuff. But in the meantime, here's your assignment sheet, and you know you're writing a 5 to 6 page critical analysis essay. Go ahead and proceed. Have a good one.